Good morning. Welcome to the Celtic Way Morning Briefing Live. I'm Tony Haggerty, joined by Sean Martin, a Haggerty10 Twitter handle, and that's Sean Martin TCW. You know what's coming, Sean? Rio, Hatate. What about that, Sean? First goal for the club. Now, you've scouted him. You want your commission from Celtic for the scouting report. What a howitzer that was, eh? What a strike.
It's all up to me. It's all down to me. I'm sure it's nothing to do with the fact that Ange managed in Japan for a few years, but no, what a strike it was. It was how early it hit it. Like, I've seen a few criticising Craig Gordon, and potentially could have stood up to it better. But I think it was the fact that he hit it so quickly, so unexpectedly, as well as so powerfully. That really took Gordon by surprise as much as everybody else, and just as well there was a net there that hit somebody behind the goal and gave them a concussion. But he had a good game again. I thought ran out of steam a wee bit, but I think most players ran out of steam at some point last night. But on Hatate's game in general, very good in possession. What I like about him so far, I've said to you that although the first two games he's shown his technical quality really more than anything else. But he's got the off-the-ball movement and stuff. And I think the thing that will keep him in people's good graces as he goes forward is the fact that he has a wee bit of bite as well. Yeah. And you kind of saw it yesterday. Later on in the game, he got a wee bit back at one of the Hearts players. And I think that's the kind of thing that will keep him in everybody's good graces when maybe the technical quality dips a wee bit, or he doesn't score a howitzer, or he doesn't get man of the match, that kind of thing.
Sean, it was a goal good enough to have its own show at the Edinburgh Fringe Festival. That's what I said in the colour piece. Now, morning after, the night before, Celtic win 2-1 at Hearts, and it's a pivotal and vital win, Sean. A great debut by Matt O'Riley as well, who was awarded the Man of the Match award. And just, they dug it out. They dug in there, Sean. They saw it out, but a terrific first half performance. Thought Jota, Hatate and O'Riley and Giakoumakis. I made the point of saying to Ange after it that Giakoumakis was a real striker's goal. Well, you judge people on their contribution, and he has scored the winner by getting into that predatory position with the ball across goal for Matt O'Reilly's on the money, and he has flicked that away tidily. You know, difficult skill, ball coming behind you, but he's managed to kind of scoop it up and into the net, and terrific finish, and that's why Giakoumakis is here.
Well, what did I say on Tuesday? One touch finishes in the box if the ball's got across. So he done it. The ball was there, and he put it in. And it was a great finish. It was innovative. It was the way that he took it. Like, I think Christophe Berra pointed out after the game that as a centre half, if he'd just tried to hit it normally, Suter might have been able to get his foot across to block it. But it was the fact he chose the innovative route that just totally took both Craig Gordon and John Suter by surprise, and it ended up in the back of the net. It was a positive contribution from him in general. It was a confidence booster as well, I'm sure, because that's 2 goals in both and he starts kind of like 3 goals, is it?
3 goals, yeah. 3 goals,
Johnston Hall and
2 and 2 games.
2 and 2 games, 3 starts. But I mean, I think overall, I think you can tell he's still kind of learning to adapt to what Ange ideally wants from a central striker in terms of the off-the-ball stuff. But he's given it a good go, and it helps that he's taking the chances that are falling to him the way that he is.
The showreel from the Eredivisie last season, Sean, a lot of one-touch finishes.
Saturday,
that's a one-touch finish, and that a one-touch finish last night. So,
and the St Johnstone game was as well. I think
not seen bolts of a player there. Methinks.
I think it depends on the service, as it always will with a player like Giakoumakis, I think. But no, as I said to you and Alison on Tuesday, it was like all but 2 of his goals in the Eredivisie last year were one-touch finishes in central areas in the box and stuff. So that it's really no surprise that's where he got his goal. The style of the finish was a surprise, and it was a pleasant one.
Yeah. But we like a stylish finish, Sean. You know what I mean? We do. But I mean, lots of things to talk about from last night. Offside goals, penalties, Sean. You know, but the bottom line is the stat that mattered was that Celtic won.
No, I'd give you that. That's always the stats that matters. But I think for the purposes of us having a 20-minute debate, I think it's. You mentioned a couple of things there. I think depends what one you want to take first, really. But
take them in chronological order, Sean.
Well, we've already said about Hatate's goal, but I mean, just to get another nod, what a finish! I think he in general, I've already said he was very good in possession, but to me, it's the slight risk that he takes with a lot of his passes that I suspect will become more useful as the season goes on, especially against more defensive teams than Hearts. I'm delighted with the start he's made, to be honest, and the attributes he brings to the table, I think they all bode well going forward.
Yeah, I mean, Matt O'Riley as well, a valuable contribution. I thought it was a great first game from Matt O'Riley. He looked very composed, put in the ball for Giakoumakis, and just looks like a player, Sean.
I liked his debut, I mean, obviously he got the assist, but he had several nice kind of cute layoffs. He linked well with other players, the other clever players, but not that there's any stupid ones, but he linked with the other kind of intelligent players like Hatate, Jota, Forrest, and took up really positive advanced positions in general. I mean, he showed his work rate as well, and that's probably why his calf seized up at the end. So I mean, as far as debuts go, I think that was an ideal one. He did pretty much did what he said he'd do if he was called upon in the game, and that was create and work hard.
I tell you what, was also impressed with Sean for 62 minutes, Jota.
Aye.
Oh, just like he's a machine. We were speaking off air, and you said the fact that he was just demanding the ball all the time. And I said to you that I thought Michael Smith went off with a damaged ego because Jota was twisting him inside out, wasn't he? You know, so
he's relentless.
He looks apart again, doesn't he?
He is relentless with the. You know what I says to you before we come on was it must be murder to play against him because you know that no matter the treatment he gets, he's not giving up. He's just going to come back at you and back at you and back at you. And 9 times out of 10, he does beat you as well. So it's not as if it's one of these guys that does a lot of fancy tricks, doesn't take the ball past you and doesn't do anything with it. I actually felt quite sorry for him. He never get his goal. He probably should have maybe taken the chance better where he powered it off of Craig Gordon. But I felt his kind of display, especially the opening half, deserved a goal. But
for those of a certain vintage, they'll remember another wee winger that just kept demanding the ball and kept going at people. I think you know who I'm talking about. But yeah, we do like our wingers. But I was just impressed the way they saw it out last night, Sean. Ange made a great comment actually in the aftermatch stuff when he was asked about, you know, the pressure and all that, and he said because the crowd roars, it gives you the impression that you're under a lot more pressure than you actually are. Mm-hmm. He said, I'll remind you that Joe Hart didn't have a save to make. And I thought that was quite a telling comment because he didn't.
No. The penalty in the goal.
The noise at Tynecastle, you know, can be, you know, it's quite intense.
Matt O'Riley mentioned that as well about the distance that he'd never experienced that and stuff. And I mean, I don't think anybody on here will be surprised that that's the kind of thing that he was saying. But and that kind of probably speaks even more to his kind of performance and how calm he looked despite all that and despite the fact he clearly felt it.
Yeah, it was just the start of a 3-game sequence, Sean, that was touched upon on earlier shows this week. Now on to Dundee United, but there's confidence there now because your next 2 are at home. That was it's not arguably the most difficult. The most difficult one will come against Rangers on February the 2nd, but it's certainly a difficult one, isn't it? Midweek and Wednesday at Tynecastle.
Definitely, it's up there, isn't it? But I think it's a very good start for the kind of period they're going to have to play without McGregor. Probably couldn't have asked for a better one, especially since it showcased both sides. The first half, it showcased the kind of technical, the attacking play. The second half, they did have to dig in. They didn't control the ball very well near the end of the game, but they still got it done. And there's a couple of the kind of more senior players. I think the likes of whether they individually actually had great games or not is irrelevant because I felt like the likes of Nir Bitton, Greg Taylor, Carter Vickers, even Joe Hart, he's talking and stuff. It makes a difference when you're under the cosh like that. I realised that it wasn't totally peppering the goal with shots when Hearts had the ball, but there was still that intensity that they had to overcome, and they did it.
I thought Carter Vickers was brilliant last night. I really did. He doesn't get ruffled, does he?
You know, no, not at all. I mean,
he's up against Liam Boyce and Barry Mackay, who are both different kind of players, but I didn't see him getting ruffled last night at all. Just kept his cool and his composure, and a big part of seeing that out was his defending.
I agree with that. I think Boyce is I like Liam Boyce. I think he's a really good player, but I think it's a difficult one to defend against because although the main thing he's known for is his goals, he actually does drop deeper and he can pass a ball and he does kind of take up spaces in between the lines and stuff. So it's difficult for a centre half sometimes to mark him and to defend against him. And I thought he coped really well with him. I suppose if we're coming to the Hearts goal, I think we all saw Starfelt having one of his moments in the build up to it. I think he kind of, and I'm not an anti-Starfelt guy at all, but I think he did have one of those moments, and then I think he kind of lost the plot a wee bit for a couple of minutes. But I think the fact that he got his head back in the game made that really, you mentioned it in your ratings, made that really potentially crucial clearance when he slid in, when the ball was coming across. Again, that kind of shows you it won't get to him as much as it used to now either. Because despite the kind of narrative changing around Starfelt a lot of the time now in terms of getting a wee bit more praise, which he does deserve, I think, you can't stand like that when he does do something that you feel you call it. So, and I think it was the best of both worlds there.
Yeah, he is prone to lapses.
The best and worst.
He is prone to lapses, Sean, but he stuck to it last night. You know, he didn't, and maybe it affected him for, as you say, a couple of minutes, but he quickly got over it, and he had the presence of mind to slide in there and smash that ball away when Hearts were coming on strong at a point, and they thought they could get a point out of the game, which they were the width of the post away from getting. But hey, penalty for you, Sean, definitely.
Well, the thing was when I first saw it, I thought that's very harsh. That's like just natural and all that. But when I looked up, because I thought, right, well, I looked up the IFAB rules for the other day, so I'll look them up again. And by the IFAB rules and stuff, it is a penalty, and it is obviously. I still don't think it was a deliberate movement towards the ball or anything, but ultimately by the letter of the rules there, then it is a penalty. I suppose you could argue it was evened up that he missed it, considering his goal was offside. But times the breaks, I suppose.
Then people would argue that Giakoumakis for goal was offside as well, Sean. So
I actually think Giakoumakis maybe was offside, but I think it was. I think you don't necessarily need to lump both offside non-calls, if we're going to call them that, together as much as people seem to want to. I think Giakoumakis looked off, but it was very difficult to tell where Souttar's leg and kind of foot was. So I think it's a lot closer than the Boyce one, which I think the Boyce one was pretty clear. For Giakoumakis' goal, I was kind of pausing it and stuff, and I saw the linesman is behind and slightly ahead of O'Riley when he delivers it. So it was a really good position to judge the movement in the area. For Boyce's, the Sky cameras don't have the linesman in them at all, so I've yet to see a clip of where he was to see if he was in as good a position or not. But to me, it looked off, and I think it was definitely clearer than the Giakoumakis one.
Will McMillan asked the question here, should Celtic not have had a penalty as well, John?
For the Kingsley one, well, I suppose you would argue his hand was in an unnatural position or out with his body. I suppose, as my mate said, your hand shouldn't be at your chest unless you're performing CPR. But I think it would have been harsh.
Now, Sean, you and I predicted the team. You got it spot on.
Yep.
I had a Bada in for James Forrest. Now I would have a Bada in for James Forrest from now for the time being. Thought James was a bit off it last night.
I thought his couple of shots that he got were poor shots, and I thought he made the wrong decision when he got to the kind of middle area, just outside the 18-yard line. Could have played in Abada, but decided to shoot, got it blocked. But ultimately, I don't think Abada was particularly great when he came on. I think it was all right, and I'm as you know, I'm an Abada fan in terms of underlying stats and all that as well. But ultimately, how's Forrest going to pick up the kind of form if he doesn't play? So he does need to, as David Bradley's just said there, he does need to up his performances. But for me, he's got to actually keep playing to get the chance to up them.
Yeah, that's very true. And last night I was a wee bit, I don't know if I was harsh, but I wasn't too impressed with either Taylor or Juranovic, Sean. I don't know if you agreed. I felt at times Juranovic stole himself, just let people go by him too easy. And offensively he does some good things, but defensively I I don't know, there was 2 or 3 times I looked up and guys were waltzing past Juranovic and he didn't seem to be doing too much to recover the situation.
He's got an odd bad bit of sweeping in him sometimes for covering for other players, but I do agree it seems that he's a wee bit easy to get past at times. He also, despite the fact he's passing is good, and there's maybe inherently, because he takes a wee bit more of a risk with his passing, maybe it's going to happen, but he tends to kind of lose concentration sometimes with a pass, I think. I don't think he was terrible, but I would agree, I think probably a 6 out of 10 was probably accurate. For Taylor, I thought he played all right. I think people are seeing what they want to see with him a lot. But I think more than actually tangibly playing brilliant or anything like that, I think he done pretty much manfully stuck to what he was asked to do. Linked up well enough with Jota. But I think you saw him defending Jota, which I think I've said to you plenty of times. I need to see more of that. I still don't think it was a booking either. But in addition to that, near the end of the game, helping the team, pointing, talking, different things like that to help them see out the game, taking the ball in the corner, showing that strength that he apparently doesn't have, and all that. I think he played all right. I think it would be harsh to single him out. But
do you think Ange took Jota off as a precaution, just in case he got another booking or whatever? Because I couldn't understand his booking, to be honest.
No, I think it was one of a few kind of weird decisions from John Beaton, who I don't think tended to, I don't know, he just didn't seem to think, he didn't seem to know, or didn't seem to be consistent with what constitutes a booking, I think.
Celtic got more bookings than Hearts, didn't they?
I think so. It was poor in general, but it was, I think the Jota substitution, I think it was a mix of potentially the fact he was on a yellow card, but also I think he was maybe told before the game,
give you an hour.
You're going to get 60, 70 minutes and then you'll be off, so just make the most of your 60, 70 minutes, that kind of thing.
He most certainly did.
He did, aye. As I say, the only thing it was missing was a goal, I think.
Yeah, of course. Craig Gordon was in good form though. He beat away a couple of Jota efforts, but he couldn't stop Hatate's. Give it another marvellous plug again. Goal of the season for me so far, Sean. I don't know about you.
So far, probably. Probably. There's been a few though. No, I think it's a. I mean, as I say, they struggled a wee bit to keep the ball nearer the end, which probably to me speaks to how exhausted the players were and the lack of options on the bench, more than how great Hearts were playing or anything. But I think the main thing was, as you said at the start, at the end of the 90 minutes they'd scored one more and they got the 3 points. I think it was overall definitely a positive display to take.
Sean, is it a worry that Celtic's kind of the 65, 70 minute mark and there is an element of fatigue creeping in?
But I do think the caveat is that, and this is where I've been talking about the squad depth all season, that whether the plan, the point I was making before was that they didn't need necessarily a totally different plan. He just needed enough quality on the bench to come on and reinvigorate it if it wasn't working. But the same logic goes for even if it is working, because they will still tired because of the nature of the way that they play. So I think that was the kind of telling thing, was the fact that there was so many players missing from the bench. That more than anything was the reason you could see it dropping off, because you could see it a mile away that players were tired. And with the 5 subs and different things, if everybody was there, or even close to everybody was there, I think you'd have saw that intensity kind of stick up higher than what it did because of the lack of options. But again, they got through it. I thought James McCarthy came on, and I think probably done exactly what everybody expected him to do, was put himself about, misplace a pass, and then get them through the game kind of thing. That might very well be the role he's got to play, to be honest. Because I still don't really see a role for him in the starting 11 anytime soon. Yeah. But ultimately, he played his part, as did the rest.
Tell you what, you never get tired of, Sean, is winning. You never get tired of that, and another 3 priceless points banked for Celtic at Tynecastle under trying circumstances. Lots of players missing and lots of fans missing, Sean. Only 1,289 Celtic fans were there last night, but my God,
they made a good amount of noise though.
They made some amount of noise indeed, and as they like that wee ditty everywhere they go, watching Glasgow Celtic putting on a show. put on a show last night, certainly in the first half, and they managed to come away from Edinburgh with all 3 points. On to Dundee United at home on Saturday, Sean. We will do our predicted lineups.
Yep.
As always, see if we can get it bang on again. We try. I'm sure Ange watches it and bases it round us. He has to. He has to. But thanks for the comments, guys. So we try and read as many as we can. It's only ever exciting when you win, Tony Haggerty, as Frank Brennan just pointed out to me there. Well, there you go. We won last night. We move on to Saturday, Sean. Thanks for your contribution. Always enjoy it. Thanks, guys, for your comments as well. And we shall see you and reconvene tomorrow when all 3 of us will be here, Sean.
Yep. Cheers, Tony. Cheers, guys.
All the best. Take care.